Well, here it is, Monday night already. Thanksgiving's over with, and everybody's out running around trying to find the bargains for Christmas. Everybody except me. I don't do that sort of thing anymore. It kind of lost its taste with me. So I don't want to start a humdrum speech and have everybody hanging their heads and saying, here she goes. Okay, no, not here I go. I just finished eating my supper. Two chicken and egg rolls. They were pretty good. I've had better, but it's enough to do me. Now, before I get into my story, and it's a kind of cute story, I think you'll like it. It's an old story, but first, I want to call attention to a lady named Luann Grubbs and her mother. She calls her Mom. When anybody says Mom, I just assume they're probably from England or the British Isles and all. So, Luann, I want you and your mother to look at this picture. I spent half a day clearing my dining table of jewelry parts and junk so that I could set this little table. Now, my table is big when it's opened out, really too big for my dining area. So I dropped the side leaves, and this is just a small decoration because what I'm showing is also small. Now, folks, you ask why Luann and her mother? Because I'm showing you something that Luann's mother made, and she sent it to me, and it's beautiful. So I knew she wanted to see how it would look on a table, and this is the small table. I took pictures of it on my small iPad, so I'm going to hold it up. Hope you can get a good look at it. Luann's mother made the dolly. Can you see the dolly good? There you go. Take a good look at that beautiful dolly. And since it was rather small, I thought I'd just use a small table. You can see I've got started a little bit with what looked like Christmas stuff. Now I'm going to move the camera over a picture, I think. Okay, here's another picture. That's the centerpiece. Now you can tell more about the crochet dolly here. It's a beautiful piece and so white. Take a close look. I want you to be able to see how pretty it is. Now, my mother crocheted all her life, and she did this kind of crocheting too, and I was always amazed at what she could create or what anyone could create with a crochet needle. Let me try one more picture. Let's see. I don't know which way I was going. Is this the one I just showed you? Well, anyway, I'll show you another one in case I missed the right one. Okay, let's see what this one. I showed you this one. Anyway, I want you to see the dolly. The other decorations are not that important because I couldn't get enough of the table in my picture, and I wanted to show off the dolly. Now that's my Fostoria candle holders on each side, and I had table plates, but I'll show those in another picture later. So anyway, Luann and Mom, I hope you are watching and are seeing a sample of your beautiful work. And thank you very much. Now let's see, where was it going to go next? Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story. This goes way back. Goodness gracious, it goes back to about 1964. First of all, I know every one of you know how to drive. But how old were you when you learned how to drive? Yeah, couldn't wait till you turned 16, could you? So you could get Dad's car and go get a permit and learn how to drive. Well, it didn't work that way for me. I didn't know how to drive when I got married. Went another 9.5 years, still didn't know how to drive. Well, that was right about the time my better half flew the coop. Well, life was going to change real fast and very drastic. I'm there with 2 kids. I got to find a job. I got to work. I've been a stay-at-home mom. Now I've got to learn how to drive, but I don't even have a car. Oh, no money either. What do you do? Well, I did get a job, and luckily my next-door neighbor, when she went to work every morning, she passed right by the medical center where I worked. So I could carpool with her, just get in the car and she'd drop me off the front door and go on to her job. That worked out very well, but I really needed to know how to drive because I couldn't go to the grocery, I couldn't go shopping, couldn't do anything without a car. And I was a scaredy cat when it came to driving. I've been used to small town. Well, Louisville wasn't a small town, but I wasn't even concerned about driving when I lived there. Now I'm on my own. What am I going to do? Just by chance, my neighbor across the street worked at a car dealership. And I asked him if he would help me find a car. And it'd have to be a cheap one. It'd have to be an older one. Well, nothing was going to look like I was really flying high. No, I was flying about as low as you could get. So, one night, he drove me downtown to the car lot and showed me some cars. And, of course, I had to use his judgment. I didn't know anything about cars. And I found me a car for $500. Now, that sounds awfully cheap. It wasn't so cheap back then, but cheap to other people it might have been. To me, I was having to make monthly payments. Yeah, you know, same old story. You've heard it before. Okay, parked that car in my driveway right beside my house. And it sat there because I couldn't drive. Didn't have a license. So at work, I'm talking to one of my co-workers and talking about, I need somebody to teach me how to drive. She says, oh, that's no problem. I have a friend that taught me how to drive. And I'll ask her if she will teach you. She's really very good. And I have a feeling she'll teach you how to drive. Well, I was just real thrilled with that. So I had gone down courthouse and I got my permit. Now your permit lasts 60 days. So I had my permit and got in contact with this young lady. And by chance, she was driving a brand new Ford. The big Ford. I don't know which name of it, but anyway, it was a big Ford. And she came to my house. We were going to go out for my first drive. And I figured we would go in my car. She said, no, let's just use my car. I said, you're going to let me learn how to drive in your new car? Oh, I'm not afraid. You'll be fine. Fine. Okay. She was very confident. I wasn't nearly as confident as she was. So about twice a week, she would come by, pick me up, and I'd go for my regular driving lesson, and she charged me $1.50 a lesson. Well, that wasn't very much, but for my pocketbook it was. But she's very nice, so 30 days goes by, and I'd already passed up the first 30 days on the permit because I didn't have anybody to teach me. And so I was on the last 30 days, and I said, my permit's run out. I've got to get it renewed. And she said, well, while you're down there, why don't you just take the driving test? Was this girl crazy or something? She's asking me to take the driving test, and I've only been learning to drive for 30 days, 2 days a week? Oh, no way, because it's going to have to take the test in her car. She wasn't afraid, but I sure was. And she kept prodding me. She said, I think you can do it. I think you can pass the driving test. Okay. She takes me down to the courthouse, and I go in and do whatever it was I was supposed to do, sign the papers and whatever. And she was going to wait on a bench outside while I took my driving test. The police officer got in the car with me, and I'm going to tell you, I had on the prettiest outfit I owned that day. It was a magenta velveteen suit. Oh, it was a beauty. And I had matching patent leather shoes. I looked pretty sharp, I'll have to admit. I did look good. I don't know why I thought I had to dress up for a driving test, but anyway, I did. So I get in the car, and we turn the corner, wait till the light changes. Fortunately, I got through it before it changed and me in the middle of the intersection. I get through with my driving test. Everything worked fine. And we're driving back to the courthouse. So we're pulling up on the back side of the courthouse. And just as we approached the building, steam and smoke start pouring out from under the hood of the car. Oh my gosh, something's on fire. Oh, what in the world is wrong? The officer says, I think she's got a busted water pump. I didn't know anything about water pumps, but that steam was just rolling right out of the hood of that car. She's standing next to the building, and she sees this as we pull up and park. Well, of course, she didn't know it was a water pump. She just saw smoke or steam, whichever one it was, and I think she was about to panic. But the officer was very nice about it. He already knew what it was, so that helped by him explaining it's just a water pump. She's going to have to take the car and get it fixed as soon as we park. Okay, we get out of the car, and I hand her the keys, and the officer tells her, you need to go so-and-so and get new water pump. I go inside with the officer. I fill out the papers and pay for a driver's license. I've got my little driver's license now. I can drive. and my car is sitting at home in the driveway. The car that I've never driven. I go to the corner. Here comes a city bus. I get on the bus and go home. I don't drive a car home. I'm going on the city bus. And the city bus let me off half a block from my house. Okay, it's time to get in that car and go for a drive. Now, I didn't tell you what kind of car it was, did I? I don't know if you have to be as old as I am to recognize what I'm going to tell you, but I had bought a Dodge Matador. Do you know what that is? Or was? Have you ever seen one? Well, I get in the seat and I checked the rearview mirror. Now, the rearview mirror was on the dashboard. You know, all of them in the cars today are up above the window. But that was the one thing I liked about this car. The rearview mirror was right up here on the dashboard, and I didn't have to look up to see out the back window. I could see it out of the corner of my eye. And I really liked that. Okay, well, of course, I didn't know that at the time. I learned it later. All right. I've got to back out of the driveway. So I put my arm up on the back of the seat. It was a sedan seat. You know what a sedan seat is. Big car inside. And it's a bigger car outside. I turned around to look over my shoulder to back out of the driveway, and I saw the rest of the car. I'm driving a city bus. This is the biggest car I've ever seen. It looks a half a mile long. And it's got tail fins. You know what I mean when I say tail fins. The old Cadillacs in the early 60s had those tail fins. Oh, it just looked like it was going to take off into the air and fly. Oh, those Cadillacs were beautiful things. But I'm driving a Dodge Matador that's brown. Brown is not my favorite color. In fact, it was about the dullest brown I ever saw. But who was I to be picky? I just bought a $500 car. And it was the biggest car I'd ever seen. And I was beginning to think, what a mistake I had made. That I couldn't even hardly get down to the bottom of my driveway where you turned around, and my garage was under my house. I never parked the Dodge Matador in my garage. It stayed parked up next to the street until I finally traded in for another car. So I was 29 years old. Now I had my driver's license, and I didn't have to carpool anymore. I could drive my Matador to work. I don't remember anybody ever saying, "Woo, I like your car." Now what I want you to do, I want you to go on the internet and search Dodge Matador. Search, I'll say 1960. I think mine was before that. But just put in the year 1960 and take a look at what those cars look like. They did look like a bus. In fact, they looked more like an airplane without wings. And those tail fins just stood right up. Right. I could see them both sides, those big tail fins. So that was my first car. You know, people are always saying, what was your first car? Some of you may say, you know, I really don't remember what my first car was. Well, I'm going to tell you this. If it had been a Dodge Matador, you wouldn't forget. So that's my story tonight. I hope you get a kick out of it. A Dodge Matador. And Luann, you and your mother enjoy this video. Look at it again and see how pretty her beautiful crochet dolly looks on my table. And I want to say thank you again and again. Good night, everybody.